Okay.
All right.
Now start
We're
saying,
live.
Now start saying these with me. 1, 2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6, 7.
7,
You're not saying it with
8.
me.
What? Okay. Well, let's do this again.
Okay. 1,
1, 2,
3,
What
4.
are you doing?
We're on beat right there. That was good.
All
1,
right. 1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6.
6.
No, you're supposed to say it with
7.
me. Not
I
after
am
me.
saying it with you, dude. There's probably a little bit of latency here.
Okay. Latency.
All right, I think we're good. You want to clap?
Welcome to the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast with TJ and Sonny.
Hello and welcome to the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast. My name is TJ McConaughey. I'm here with my co-host and partially balding friend, Sonny Saltalamacchia. Sonny, what's real?
What's real, TJ, is my emotions that I'm coming down from being your best friend from last week's episode to now being just a co-host and a partially balding friend. Don't worry, TJ. I'm have a lot of resilience. I'll recover. Speaking of resilience, TJ, have you seen the movie Resilience?
I have not, but I do enjoy gaslighting you. So is the movie Resilience about gaslighting? Because I it's my favorite thing.
I don't know anything about you lighting your farts on fire. I just know that Resilience is a great movie, followed closely by Paper Tigers being a very
Sonny,
good movie
you
as well.
are a counselor and you have no idea what gaslighting is? I find that hard to believe.
I am not a counselor on the show. I am just a person who likes to rail against funny things I find in youth pastor forums on Facebook. But I'll save that for the tick of the week.
Yeah, because last week we went off about internet trolls, and this week you became one, right?
TJ, there is an art to the troll. There are two types of trolls. There is the one troll that is like this. Troll is going to troll. But then there's another troll that I like to refer to as the educational troll. I am an educational troll. The problem is my lessons go far above people's heads, and they don't get it, bro. And that's not my fault. My teaching style is on point, and it's shame on them for not getting the joke. And we'll get into that later.
Sonny,
It might just be my tick of the
Sonny.
week, bro. It might be my
I
tick of the week.
love that you just referred to your trollery as educational.
There is
because
such a
that-
thing as educational trolling. There is, bro.
Okay, give me one inspiring movie that has an educational troll in it. Give
I don't
me
know if
one
there's any inspiring
character.
I don't know if there's any
in
inspiring
life.
movies. I can show you a text that you sent me 2 weeks ago how we should troll one of the forums, and we did successfully. I can show that if you'd like, and that was an educational troll.
So wait, whoa. You're gonna put me on blast.
Go on.
You're
You
gonna
want to come at me? I'll come back at you.
Okay, let's save it.
Captain
Let's save
four
because
Reddit accounts.
let's save it because that's fodder for later, and I'm
Yes.
excited to get into those things with you.
Yes.
That's Tick of the Week, but we got a lot of other amazing segments for tonight. Sonny, what are the segments we're going to be rocking through tonight?
Right after this, we'll go into the win of the week, TJ, which I got a bone to pick with you about last week's win of the week. Followed by tick of the week, then question of the week. TJ, it's my turn to ask the question, and I got a doozy of a question to ask you.
I hope
and then
it's
lastly,
not like another Pinterest question like you brought 2 weeks ago.
Lastly, TJ, we'll be moving into what's in your office, and we'll be talking about what cool item or treasure or ancient fossil is located in your office as a cool, hip, trendy, relevant, living in their world youth pastor.
Mm-hmm. And I want to just say this really quick because there's never really a place on the show to say it, but I've been wanting to say it for a couple weeks. All of the beats that you're going to hear on the show, which I think make our show 10 times better than it is, because I think the content of me and you just talking,
Gets old.
it's all right. But the beats that are coming together, these are your beats, huh, Sonny? These ones you are like the Dr. Dre producer credit to this show. Is that right?
I am the white Dr. Dre of the counseling world. Yes.
Does that make me Eminem in this situation?
No, I couldn't. Not even the white Dr. Dre can make you famous, TJ.
Join the conversation on Facebook and Instagram. And when you subscribe to this podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating. We desperately need your approval.
All right, TJ, here's the deal, bro. We talked about our wins of the week last week, and yours, you posted a poll on Facebook.
Yeah.
I haven't checked it in quite a few days. In fact, I haven't checked it since you told me about the poll.
Okay.
And because I don't care about the praise of men, TJ. I know what I do is effective with the youth that I work with. And that's my only concern. I'm not out there, TJ, each week trying to do something because in the back of my head, I'm like, this is going to be a dope win of the week on the show. So therefore, I'm gonna knock Sonny out of the park with this. I just love on kids for the sake of loving on kids. And if what I do isn't good enough, TJ, I'm okay with that, bro. I'm perfectly okay. If you need randoms on the internet to build confidence up in what you do, that's you do you, bro. You do. It is what it is. At the end of the day, you do you.
So I take it you need an update on who won the win of the week last week. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that update.
I'm okay.
I'm going to go ahead and give you an update, even though you don't want the update. I don't know why you don't want the update, because you're going to want to hug after you get that update. Thank you. We had actually a lot more than I thought would voted on this thing this last week. And I beat Sonny's win of the week. And actually last week's win of the week might be two of the coolest wins of the week we're going to ever feature on this show. So coming out swinging with some heavy wins of the week.
Just wait. They'll be better.
Okay. All right. Well, Sonny seems to think he might have me this week actually, but I'm pretty excited about my win of the week. Yeah. Thank you guys for voting. And what was
the final tally? You're not going to tell us?
The final tally is, I think,
not vote, just percentage wise. What was the percentage?
I think I beat you about 70 to 30%.
There is no think. Where's the post?
Do you want me to pull it up?
I'm looking for the post right now.
Okay. You go ahead and pull it up. We're going to probably have to edit this part out.
You won 67% to 33%.
67% to 33%. Thank you guys for voting. I will say this. Even though I got more people voting for me, your votes, those people were a lot more vocal on our page. So you got a lot more comments about why they were voting for you. And I honestly thought you were going to beat me because mine was a little more self-gratifying and yours was more about students. So it makes me sad for our listeners.
It shows the current state of youth pastorship in America, TJ.
Yes, that trending on Reddit meant more than helping a wayward teen.
That inspiring hope into a delinquent teen, yes.
Yes. However,
good job, youth pastor. Good job.
Hey. I did win the week, so I will take this. I will take this W, and you will have to take the L.
And you gotta go first. You gotta go first this week. Then, if you win, you gotta go first.
Okay, so is that it? You make it, take it, huh?
Make it, take it.
All right. Make it, take it. My win of the week was this. We've been doing these attendance drives at youth group. Actually, since I've known you, Sonny, we did an attendance drive way back in the day when we first started, me and you together. And what was that drive called back in the day? Do you remember what that was called?
Drive to 75.
Drive to 75. We wanted our students to engage in their schools, and we wanted them to actively be thinking about inviting friends to youth group, because in my opinion, one of the lowest ways to share the gospel, and one of the easiest and lowest ways to share the gospel, is just to bring them to a place where the gospel is shared. Yeah, we want our students to go to a place where they are inviting their friends, and their friends are coming to youth group, and then ultimately to know Jesus, because that's what we believe is our Great Commission. So I've been doing these drives for a while and trying to inspire students to always be thinking about who they can get and who they can invite to youth. So I engaged with the students. I came up with a different idea this time, and it was this. I wanted to, instead of engaging the big number like we've done before, where it's like the drive to 75 or the drive to whatever, I wanted to engage them on a personal level, because sometimes things can get kind of lost in those big numbers. And one of the things we've been talking a lot about at youth and in youth ministry is this idea of names over numbers. We want to make sure that you're not just a number that we're trying to get to. Your name being a part of our collective community is the most important thing. So we wanted to say, we want to grow by names and not numbers. And that sounds a little pretentious as it's coming out, but it's actually been a pretty good motivator.
I like that. Names over numbers is good.
Names over numbers. And so yeah, we've been engaging. So I kind of actively put out 2 promotions at the same time. The first one is this. It's this idea, we call it the High Five Hoodie Drive. And it's basically really simple. You bring 5 friends to youth group throughout the year, the school year, you get a hoodie. And we got these really awesome hoodies designed and sent to us by Sunday Cool, who, if you don't know, are one of the best places to get t-shirts. They are not a sponsor. But
does Seventh-day Adventists have Saturday Cool for their t-shirt designs?
That would be a good question to ask on Youth Pastors Only.
Easy.
Okay. We're going to save that. We really want to get to that. I mean, you're really just kind of gravitating to that right now. But anyway, we ordered a bunch of these hoodies, and students for the last month have been inviting friends at a pretty good clip. But then also last week, in the middle of something, I really, really, really thought that our students could break a record for us. And we were going to have our Christmas party this Sunday. So last Sunday, I said, if you guys beat our previous record, which was set back in October, I'll give you a lock-in. And that is heard by 2 different audiences. The first one, it's heard by the students who go crazy and they absolutely love it. The other one is heard by my volunteer staff who haven't heard me say this before at all. And a lot of them are looking at me like, you are going to do this lock-in by yourself. You're going to be the only one there because we're not doing it. But anyway, so I threw the 2 promotions out, the High Five Hoodie Drive and the if you beat our record on the Christmas party, hey, you'll get a lock-in. So that motivated in a way that I didn't think it was going to just crazily motivate. And so it was really, really awesome. I loved it. We ended up giving out 7 hoodies. So, nice. And it's just been a really cool thing. I also posted that idea to Stuff You Can Use. And we kind of blast a couple youth pastor forums on here, but by far my favorite, I have a couple right at the top, but my favorite right now is Stuff You Can Use. I think that's a great forum. They're really good around there, and usually the people on there are just people who want to see other youth pastors win. So I posted it to there, and a bunch of people saw the idea for the High Five Hoodie Drive, and they're going to implement in their youth group. So 2 wins there. Number 1, we had our biggest night ever at youth group. Number 2, an idea that really worked for us is going to be implemented in a bunch of different youth ministries all over the country. And so that's an awesome, awesome win for us. I'm excited about it. Sonny.
Nice job, TJ. Nice job. And, I imagine, numbers is kind of like asking a guy what he paid for his house.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's an awkward thing, but yet everybody is kind of dictated by it. And a lot of people's jobs are dictated by it. And if you don't get certain numbers by a certain amount of time, your job is in jeopardy. You might lose your job because of it. Mm-hmm. And really, numbers are names. And so, if it's all about the numbers, then if your goal is 100 and you only get 50, do you get mad that the 50 the extra 50 numbers aren't there, and then don't focus on the 50 in front of you?
Yeah,
Least,
and we really try to celebrate it, and that's what the idea here is. If you bring new friends, if we have a low night, but there's 10 new people there,
sure,
that's a win. That's a huge win. Regulars, you tend to come back. There's busy times. There's different sports schedules. There's different things going on in the church at different times, and so it's trying to get everyone there at the same time. It's kind of a lofty goal, but the idea of constantly making students be able to engage in their own brains to the fact of, I need to invite my friends. That's why youth group exists.
Is there ever a threshold to that? Like, is there ever okay, we have this many people. That's cool. Let's roll with this for a while. Or is a youth pastor's job always about inviting new kids into the ministry? And I ask that very seriously.
Numbers, you're always going to be judged by numbers. So any youth pastor who's out there is like, I'm not even going to look at the numbers. You probably need to get over that because you're going to be judged by it. However, there are unhealthy numbers and there are healthy numbers, and you gotta come up with your own system on how to engage in the idea of healthy numbers.
Mm-hmm. All right, it was a good win of the week, bro. You should be proud of that. That's good numbers, man. That's cool, and that's a big goal you had, and you hit it, and so that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's almost as good as my win of the week. I got quite a few.
No, hold on.
What, bro?
Remember last week? I want to replay you. I want to replay you just an arrogance that you came out with, and you ended up losing last week. And
TJ, you have it all wrong. Again, you measure victory by what randoms on the internet say. You think I care what Daniel from Illinois thinks about my win of the week? I hope
what my
you do,
because those are the people who are listening to this podcast are randos on the internet.
Let me tell them something. It doesn't matter. Just like The Rock said, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter about it all. As long as you know you're winning with kids every week, that is what matters. And so for guys like my friend TJ who need that extra support on the internet, go ahead, bro. Come on now. Sherry, I know you're listening. Vote for TJ this week. He needs it. Now, here's my win of the week.
My gosh.
Here's my win of the week. I got two.
And next week, he will have a different tone because he's won the win of the week.
If I win, you'll watch what happens when I win.
Yeah, well, I hope it happens. Cause
I win every week. I don't care what people say. All right, here we go. So I kind of got two. And I don't know which one I want to go first, but you said two, so I'll say two. This was a good week. I just got back actually tonight, so we record on Thursday nights. Earlier tonight, I was over at a youth correctional facility, and we were doing a Christmas party for him. One of my friends, who's a state probation officer, him and his church group, they go over there. I think about 20 guys, and they go over to one of the units at this local youth correctional facility, and they just love on kids for 2 hours. And they buy them a bunch of pizza. They all donate $10. They get a bunch of soda and stuff, and they kind of set up in one of the cottages there that has ping pong tables and pool tables and chessboards and guitars and stuff like that. And we just kind of hang out for 2 hours and love on kids. Last year I went for the first time. I actually seen a former client there, so that was kind of cool to catch up with him. This year I went. I brought one of the guys I work with, and he's a longtime believer, and he actually was at this very youth correctional facility 25 years ago as a youth himself. And so it was kind of cool for him to go back there, and he talked a lot about his story a little bit to some of the guys. And I spent about an hour talking with a young man who's in there. He's been in there 6 years. He has 2 more years to go, and he shared about his faith. We got to encourage him in his faith, and talked a lot about just because you're in a tough spot and you committed some crimes, it doesn't mean God doesn't love you, And I think sometimes it's hard to remember that, God loves everybody the same, and so he saved me from a life of chaos, and these guys they're not any less loved because they've committed crimes. And so it's cool, And then at the very end, I was able to kind of share in front of the big group how, this wasn't the end of their story. This was, chapter 6 in a 20-chapter book, and they had the ability to write the rest of their chapters after they got out and stuff. And I was able to use my friend as an example, and then he got to share about himself being there. And so it was just a really cool win. But that was the second greatest highlight of the week, TJ. The greatest highlight of the week involves a game called Poop the Potato. Have you ever played Poop the Potato?
No, but I've seen it on the internet.
Okay, Poop the Potato is amazing. So, so we had our Christmas party, our youth Christmas party for our program. Then again, I work as an addictions counselor in an outpatient addictions and mental health program. And I've been incorporating youth ministry techniques into this program for years now. I stole a lot of them from what TJ was doing back in the day in the youth group we were at. And I've just ever since been incorporating games and icebreakers and up to camps and all that kind of stuff, right? So we do our Christmas party on Monday. We played a bunch of games. And one of the games was Poop the Potato. And Poop the Potato is basically, we kind of modified it. We split up two teams. It ended up being a boys team and a girls team. And then, they would put a potato between their legs. One of my gangster kids literally asks, how far up can we shove the potato before we drop it in the bucket? And so I'm like, as long as when you squat it comes out, I'm cool with it, right? So they put the potato between their legs. They have to walk and they have to squat over the bucket and have the potato drop out. So we upped the game a little bit. We made them wear a blindfold, and then we made them rely on their team to tell them where to walk to drop the potato in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
But here's the cool thing, TJ. So I work in an addictions and mental health outpatient treatment center, right? I have to write a clinical note for every interaction I ever have with a kid, right? Yeah. So imagine doing youth group, and then after youth group, you have to sit down and write a note for every interaction you had with every kid who comes there, and you have to talk about the night and the activities you did on the night and the therapeutic interventions you provided for them.
Oh, wow.
So this is where I'm going. We put in a clinical note... Poop the Potato. And it might be my greatest accomplishment of my whole entire life. And we said something like this. Attending members participated in a game called Poop the Potato. Attending members were first split into two teams where they participated in a relay type race. The objective of the game was for members one at a time to place the potatoes between their legs, walk, and then drop it in front of the bucket. The purpose of today's group was for members to learn how to overcome difficult circumstances, learn how to work well within a team, and learn how to rely on the team for support.
Okay.
And we put it in a note. And so now, forever, living in infamy is a youth group style game in a clinical therapeutic setting.
Yeah.
And the note says, Poop the Potato. I am
I
really
love it,
proud
man.
of that. TJ.
I love it. And you know what? I think we're gonna ask online. We're gonna ask whose win of the week won the week. I'm gonna tell you this. I hope my win of the week beat your win of the week because I think mine was pretty cool.
Yours is good.
However, in just sheer performance tonight, like of who presented their win of the week better, I somehow turned into an accountant, and you got Poop the Potato to enter into actual 100% clinical psychology, whatever thing. You legitimized Poop the Potato. So I think that is just good podcasting.
I therapeutically intervened Poop the Potato.
I love it, dude.
Never been done before.
And here's the thing is, and just to kind of rope this back in, because that's hilarious. First of all, it's hilarious. But these games that we play at youth group, and there's I think there's actually a lot of youth pastors, youth workers out there who are kind of anti-game.
Oh, no,
I don't know.
No.
It happens, dude. There are these guys out there who is like, man, we're gonna come, we're gonna open the word, and whoever comes,
they need to hear 18 verses and not one less.
Yeah, and it's like. There is an ideal, man. I wish that we can open up the word and just, there's something really beautiful about that. And in my program, I've got things designed for that. I got discipleship programs where we do we do certain things that are really serious. But, the truth about this stuff is, and we said this last week, but when you love someone, you will do what they love in order to reach them. You just will. And when you're playing games with students, and we say students because adolescents, they exist in this place where they're kind of done being kids and they're not yet adults, but the truth is they're kind of just still kids. And whenever we play one of these games, you see that they just still love to play. And I just love that story, man, because I love that idea of that gangster being like, where do I got to put this thing?
How far up can I put the potato? Yeah. And TJ, and I learned this several years ago, in psychology, in the I think it's Adler who talks about the different stages of growth. And so when you're a teenager, that primarily in that stage, you're learning autonomy and identity.
Yeah.
And so much of your growth is in that. But if trauma happens at an earlier age, and trauma with the ACEs study recently making a lot of waves and stuff, and movies like Paper Tigers and Resilience, we're learning a lot about what childhood trauma has done and how it affects people. And then, coupled with toxic stress, the online cyberbullying never goes away and all that kind of stuff. So we're learning that teenagers now more than ever, whether it's self-induced or not, are living in a state of stress more than ever. And that stress leads to improper use of substances or behaviors that then the courts focus on, get them in trouble. But really, it's just poor coping skills. And so by playing this game, I joke about it and mock about it, but it actually is a huge therapeutic intervention because none of these kids have played that game before, and very few of these kids have ever been in an environment where goofy, silly, laugh at me fun is being had. And so it's a huge modeling and teaching moment that you can let your guard down and everything will be okay. Because these kids have had to grow up in homes where they were never allowed to have their guard down. And we're teaching them and showing them, it's not fight or flight 24/7. You don't have to be on edge 24/7. You can let your guard down and it'll be okay. And so it really is a really powerful thing. The games, and I think that's why so many youth groups play them. There's something powerful, just like getting a burrito. There's something powerful about breaking bread. There's something powerful about getting together and laughing and having joy. And I always kind of refer to it as stupid fun. If you can learn to have stupid fun as a kid, you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, and just to rope this back into even where me and you exist in our relationship. Man, one of my favorite things, and I hear it every single year we go to Camp Respawn, it is the same comment. Sometimes it's said a little differently, but it's the same comment. You get these guys out there on the jet ski, or you get them on a tube, or you get them on a wakeboard, and they get back in the boat after some awesome session that they just had, and they go, man, I didn't know I could have this much fun sober.
Yep.
I didn't know that I could have this much fun sober. And you realize that their sobriety and their addiction exist in this place where when I get drunk or when I get high or when I get intoxicated of whatever drug of choice they have, it's really about them being able to have fun. And I think that, a lot of times, healthy people, they don't need a whole lot to have fun. However, unhealthy people, and by distinction, I'm not trying to call certain people unhealthy.
No, it's trauma. It's trauma.
Yeah.
And it's toxic stress. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they equate drinking or whatever their addiction is to fun. This is how I have fun. And that's crazy because poop the potato, you can have all sorts of fun and you don't have to worry about your parole officer coming at you later, and I think that's one of the best things you can teach these guys that especially who you're working with, is that there's this place where you can have fun that is absent of your addiction. And if nothing else, you can plant the seed that there's a place outside of addiction that is fun.
And I think sometimes, those fringe kids, those bus kids, those urban kids, however you want to refer to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the flashy lights. It's not the what's the trend right now? The palettes with the RGB lights behind them and stuff like that. Like you can have the flashiest of flashiest performance settings. You can have your check-in cards where you follow up 3 times and blah, 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 blah. But I've always thought the biggest key to youth ministry is giving a kid an experience he cannot have anywhere else. If you do that, they will come back. If you can give them an experience they cannot have anywhere else. And most of the time, it's a genuine relationship with unconditional love. If you can show a kid that, whether he shows up or not, the next week, he'll think about it. And if next time you see him, you don't say, hey, where were you? Hey, you were missed. Hey, your presence was missed. We missed having you there. I remember when I walked into youth group for the first time, I remember sitting in one of the small groups afterwards, and they were going to pray. And one of the guys, I remember his name was Daniel, and we were all praying, and I'm like, I'm in a room full of dudes, and we're praying. It was kind of weird. And I remember he thanked God for me being there. He was just like, hey, God, I just want to thank you for bringing Sonny tonight. And I remember that was such a powerful thing for me at the time, because I was coming out of a world where friends would backstab you and betray you. They would take advantage of you. You were taking advantage of them. It was kind of the running and gunning. It was get what you can. And I remember just this kind of like a nerd kind of kid, from my perspective, was thanking God for me being in the room. And that had such a profound effect on me. And I've never forgotten to this day. And so I think the best thing, right? The best thing we can do is let them be known, let them be seen, and give them an experience they can get nowhere else.
Hey.
How late you gonna be?
I'm gonna be late tonight.
You're gonna be late.
So I'll set the alarm. I'll make sure I'll do it. So.
Okay, well, everything will be all locked up.
All right, awesome.
So I was wondering what the sheriff was doing here. Did you do something wrong?
No, I didn't do anything wrong.
All right, TJ, enough of this win-schmin stuff. Let's get into the business here. Tick o' the week.
Sonny, I want to hear your tick of the week, because I think ours are going to kind of rotate it really similarly, and we've already tried to go there several times on this episode already. So I'm going to ask you, Sonny, what's ticking you off?
Well, TJ, I try not to be an old, angry, crotchety man anymore, but I'm vastly approaching 40, and so I'm just embracing that role. Get off my lawn, you dirty little twerps. TJ, I'm kind of new to the Facebook youth pastor forums, if you will. I kind of live in a world day to day where a kid's immediate practical needs is kind of always trumping everything. And if we can get to the deep theological topics of conversation, that's great. But I just don't live in that world. I live in why should I show up? Why should I listen to my probation officer? Why should I obey my mom? I'm going to go do meth this weekend. Man, can you just hold out for one more day? I live in such a crazy different world, it seems like sometimes. So, but I'm a believer. And I love the Lord, and I love youth ministry. And so you kind of encouraged me to get on a lot of these different sites and stuff like that. And there was one, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. This isn't me trying to gripe or pick fights or, poke fun at people and stuff like that. But I think as a whole, I really want to challenge, especially, youth ministry and youth pastors and stuff like that. Like, what are you accomplishing on these forums? Like, what's the goal of these forums? There was one in particular where, a couple days ago, somebody posted, my friend is interested in holy yoga. Should I be concerned? And it had this plethora of comments. And I'm just like, really? Like, we have homeless kids and hurting kids and kids who are being sex trafficked and kids who are being abused and kids who don't want to go to school because they don't have a good pair of shoes to wear. And my friend is getting involved in holy yoga. Should I be concerned? And so then that spawned and spurred a whole bunch of my friend is this, my friend is that. And so I woke up one morning and I was in a very cantankerous mood driving to work. And before I had my caffeine for the morning, I posted, my friend doesn't raise his hands during worship. Should I be concerned?
Okay, so let's stop for a second there. Just to clarify to all of our listeners. Sonny,
TJ does raise his hands during worship if you're concerned.
Do you, in fact, have a friend that you are concerned about in this manner?
I don't know. TJ, you raising your hands again? No, I do not. It was a complete 100% joke.
It was a tongue-in-cheek kind of like response. And here's the thing: is it's going to be seen as trollery, and it kind of is. We already made fun of it for that.
No, it's not. It's pointing out. It's pointing out the problem.
It should have been seen like if you're connected to this forum.
Hey, this is my tick of the week.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now you want to get all non-NPR when it's my turn to talk. So yeah,
you're waking me up. You're waking me up with all this.
It was 100% joke, but sometimes sarcasm is hard to read on the internet. And I think the last time I looked, there's 100 and something comments on it, TJ. 100 and something comments. And a lot of them are like, why should you be concerned how your friend worships? Why are you looking at your friend when you're worshiping and not worshiping God yourself? Here's a couple verses. It's like, why are you so quick to jump on the internet to correct a behavior that you don't know anything about or the context about? Or it's like, I just got the sense that there's all these youth pastors sitting around when something pops up, they're so quick and eager to like drop their theological knowledge without like sitting back and going, wait a second. There was a lot of them that were like, I'm pretty sure this is a joke, but I'm going to answer it seriously because the world needs my wisdom. And let me just ask this, DJ. When's the last time an argument or a conversation on Facebook really changed anybody's opinion? You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, people just get more entrenched, and you walk away angry. And so,
I think one of the things that just to jump in here, and that is a good tick of the week. It's a good one because we see it a lot. I think that a lot of people, no matter who you are listening to the show, you understand the culture of the Facebook argument, the Twitter argument. I don't see it as much on Instagram, but you see it there all the time, especially in the climate that we are living in today. And there's just a lot of opinions out there. And there's a lot of people who need their opinions validated.
Yes.
Online. And that's really, really unfortunate because the truth about it is that online stuff, and we said this last week, and I don't want to jump in, I don't want to cover the same things, but it's just not real. You don't know any of these people who commented on this thread. These people do not know you. If they can't tell of that it's a joke and they're commenting anyway, and I guess that makes me even more mad. Like, I think this is a joke, but I'm still gonna enter into this conversation
just in case
that there's somebody wrong on the internet,
man.
I need to go ahead and just jump on here
as if your
quick.
Salvation was dependent on raising your hands or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, it's crazy.
And I think that not to say stuff in a self-important way. Obviously, we have a podcast and we are putting thoughts out there into the world. So we do care what other people think. But if you can't tell that something's a joke, or you can kind of tell that it's a joke, but you're still going to enter into the argument to give people your 2 cents on what is real and what is not real. Come on, man. I mean, I'm just going to say that. Come on, man. I mean, man. Yeah, that's that. Ugh, And here's the thing: is how many arguments do you get into, Sonny, that are not online on a regular basis?
Very, very few. In fact, only when me and you are preparing for the show. No, you don't get into any. The only time I'm like ever even remotely like me parenting, I got 3 kids under 5. And so sometimes that's frustrating, that pushes your buttons, but like mad, like I'm never mad. I'm mad when like the system screws over a kid or the kid screws up, or I'm mad on the internet when I'm like, you idiot, blah, 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 blah. And then I have to step back and go, I am guilty as charged. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's the fake online. And I think here's the problem, DJ. You're only communicating with 20% of communication, right? 80% of communication is face-to-face. It's nonverbal. It's the tone. It's the eyes. It's the eyebrows. It's the look. It's the looking at me, looking away. And so when you're on the internet, all that is gone. And so like, what in youth ministry, what do you got, a big night on Wednesday and a big night on Sunday, and then the rest of the time you sit around trying to prove people wrong on the internet? Like, what do? So I don't know what the heck's going on, TJ, but Hey, and I guess I need to sometimes get off my own high horse because I'm like, what are these guys just sitting around doing? Why aren't they going out there and loving on kids? Like, I find myself judging them the same way they're judging my comment, So
and there's the pushback, right? Because you go on this thing to sort of troll and kind of ruffle some feathers, and then you're the one who leaves. You're the one who leaves with the ruffled feathers. And so
at first I was kind of annoyed and mad, and then I honestly felt sad. I honestly was like, really? Like, this is the conversation we're gonna have? Like,
but you said something really great on the show, and I kind of want to reiterate that. Is that negative? What did you call it? The negative effect? Is that what you called it last week? The negative effect? Is that right?
I don't know if there's an actual term, but yeah, it's like the random person on the internet can say one negative thing about you, even though 20 people during your day said something positive to you face to face, but it's the one negative thing on the internet that will stick with you. Yeah. So it's
and it just stays with you. And I think that there's a lot more negativity in our day nowadays because normal people don't get into arguments. You don't walk into the grocery store trying to buy yourself a
I think even bigger than that, TJ, it's the judgment of how we're all doing Christianese.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that is a good critique.
That's the argument that I have. That's the thing that I get annoyed with. It's posts like, how do I know what teen culture is today? I don't know. Why don't you freaking hang out with your kids? Like, they'll tell you. You just spend some time with them, right? Just spend time with your teenagers, and you will learn everything you need to know. This is the same conversation we had last week. Spend time with your kids, build the trust, build the rapport, and they'll come to you with the questions, right? You pointed me to that podcast, Justin Herman's Control Chaos Podcast, episode 42. Yeah. I forget the guy's name we had on there, but he had the greatest line ever. And Justin was talking about how do you reach kind of the urban kids? How do you reach the kind of the rough kids, the fringe kids? And the guy talked about, being in the world but not of the world. How do you balance that? And he had the greatest line ever. He said, half of you aren't even in their world, right? So be in the world but not of the world, but you got to get in their world, And so why don't we stop telling each other how to do youth ministry correctly or how to be a Christian correctly and jump into your teens' worlds, period.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the point. I mean, those online communities, they're great places to get ideas. They're great places to ask questions pertaining to programs. It is not a great place to ask a question about
debate,
theology.
Yeah.
I mean, it really isn't. I mean, because we're all going to go to our theological, holding grounds, and we're going to just kind of throw rocks. And, I got enough of that in college. I got enough of that in seminary. I don't need to keep doing that to feel validated in some way.
Facebook forums aren't the place to flex your hermeneutics knowledge, man. Come on.
And I think there's just some people who just didn't get that out of their system, so they're still out there kind of trying to do that. And again, there's so much being lost now that so much community is going online, and that'll be a huge topic for the show for a long time, is what we're losing by just becoming a mostly online culture. And I think what you hit it earlier, it's the nonverbals, like the nonverbals. Like, you can tell when someone's joking when they're talking to you.
Correct.
However, sometimes you can't, and that's a really kind of tough thing. And I remember this is one of the ones that I put out there. So I was the youth pastor diet is going to happen here soon, and it's over on the Download Youth Ministry. And I think a lot of youth pastors should do it. Our first episode, we talked about why are youth pastors so fat, and so it's a good thing that we're doing this, right? And I kind of saw that was on the horizon, and so I made this post, and it was really just to brag. I mean, honestly, and that's another thing that's great for those things, and they don't like it so much. They don't like the self-promoing, but if you can figure out creative ways so it doesn't look like self-promoting, but I kind of just went on there and was like, hey, I'm doing good. I lost a bunch of weight, and I think I'd lost like 80 pounds at that point, right? And so I shared my before and after picture, and then I left this kind of, which I thought was, obviously a joke, right? Like, and it was this was the caption. It's like, oh man, I already lost 80 pounds. I didn't realize there was going to be a youth pastor diet. I guess I lost all this weight for nothing. Like, that was the joke, right? Like, and you can get it, right? You can get like that. Obviously, that's a joke, right?
Oh, I'm laughing and I know what comments were made after the fact. Oh,
Sonny,
no. Oh, no.
Sonny, there was literally people lining up to counsel me, like lining up on this thing to be like, hey, don't you ever say that you lost it for nothing. You are in such a healthier place.
When you look in the mirror, you're beautiful. It doesn't matter if other youth pastors know it or not. Come on, man. Seriously, TJ.
Come on, man.
Seriously.
Like, obviously, the whole joke was obviously I didn't need the youth pastor diet to lose some weight, and obviously losing the weight is the reward. And so it's crazy. There is nonverbals being missed, and you wonder, like, is it just some of these people that just they don't get irony or whatever? But it's the internet. And it just kind of does what it does. And I said this, I think, before another show, but man, the conversation that we're having right now, I wonder how many people can have long form discussions anymore. Sure. But I don't want to jump in that. We can talk about that.
Maybe we should change Tick of the Week to Interesting Internets of the Week. or how about this? Tales from the interwebs.
It sure has become like our Tick of the Week has sure become like, this is what happened on the internet this week. And
as much as we rant on the internet, every Tick of the Week is us from the internet. So maybe we should get off the internet ourselves.
Yeah, you know what? All of our discomfort in life would be solved from us just getting off the internet.
We probably wouldn't have a Tick of the Week if we didn't get off the internet. If we got off the internet, though, TJ.
Yeah, and you being the addictions counselor can probably relate.
It's a bit.
To
we could dive into the dopamine,
their
notifications, your Facebook. I mean,
this is Justin Herman, and you're listening to the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast.
All right. Question of the week, TJ. Question of the week. This is my turn this week. TJ, there's a modality in counseling that I use in mental health counseling called ACT therapy. It stands for acceptance and commitment therapy. And one of the main gurus in that field, if you will, or that modality, is a guy named Russ Harris. And he wrote a book called, I forget it right now off the top of my head, The Happiness Trap. And he talks about how so much of our lives are driven by achieving happiness. If I only had that new car, if I only had, an extra $2 on my paycheck a month, if I only had an extra $1.50 an hour, I could afford this. If I only lived one street over and had a bigger house, if I only had, fill in the blank, right? In my world, the pursuit of drugs and alcohol is definitely a reaching for happiness from most of the time a very trauma-filled, stress-filled world. So he talks about the happiness trap. Think about the stories you heard growing up, right? Yada, 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 and happily ever after, right? Sheryl Crow. If it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. That one song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. But really, happiness is temporary. Happiness is always temporary. And so my question to you is, what is the natural state or the natural mindset or the natural feeling of being human? Like, if you have to think about it,
wow,
what is the base level feeling of being a human being? Bam.
Gosh, that is a deep philosophical
Right? That's a good question, right?
That's a really good question. I wish you would have gave me that ahead of time, because now I'm going to be stumbling through this crazy.
So I'll go first, because I've been thinking about it for a while.
Okay, good. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pretend to listen to you and come up with something that sounds.
You don't have to clarify that. I know you do that all the time. So, and so I was thinking about it during the week because I listened to it about a week ago, and then and so I was just pondering it and stuff and talking about it with my fellow counselors and some of the kids, And I think the base level of humanness is work and kind of contentment. And I think contentment is much different than happiness. Like happiness is fleeting. I teach a lesson every so often to kids called the thermostat versus the thermometer, and how you want to be a thermostat in your life, because a thermometer is controlled by the temperature of the room, but a thermostat controls the temperature in the room. So you don't want to be, you don't want your behavior dictated by the room. You want to determine the room by your behavior. And so, you know, and I talk about the difference between happiness and joy. Joy is sustaining. Joy is, you know, I'm losing my thought here. Joy is contagious, and happiness is fleeting and temporary. So drugs are going to give you happiness. Positive relationships with your family will give you joy, right? So joy lasts longer. I think for me, the natural state of humanness, of being a human being, of being alive, is contentment. It's like you work, but you're content in your work. You have your good days, your bad days, but the overall medium is you're happy and you're content. Not happy, I'm sorry. You're content and you accept what you have put out in the world, and you just be. And you have moments of happiness, but they come down, and you also have moments of sadness, but they usually come up. And if you're depressed, the moments of sadness last longer. If you're too anxious, whatever, you're up a little too much or whatever. But the overall natural state is contentment, I think.
I like that. I would answer in a very similar way, and I'm actually glad you went first, because I think that's a really good answer you just gave. Work. I mean, you see that actually throughout the Bible. A really good resource for this, if you're looking for a biblical resource, is going to be Ecclesiastes. And a lot of people look at Ecclesiastes, and people who I don't know. They don't. There's certain people out there who don't like the book of Ecclesiastes because they think it's kind of a depressing book, because there is a lot of language in there about like how everything is meaningless.
Oh, nothing new under the sun, all those kind of things.
Yeah. But really, I think that Ecclesiastes has a really hopeful, practical message, and it really is just what you're kind of saying there, is that there is this things outside of your control that just happen. There's a time for everything in the world. And actually, everything you experience as a human being has been experienced by other human beings before you experience. There's nothing new under the sun. And so all of that message is like, man, that sounds really, really like, yeah. And they blast like riches, and they blast like different levels of excitement and happiness, and saying, all of that is chasing the wind. All of that is vanity. But the conclusion to that book, and it's kind of hard to find, but you can see it, is in two places. It's to be happy with your toil. And that's a strange way of saying it, but it's be happy with what you work on with your life. Make your work what makes you happy. And I think that's a really amazing thing. The other thing is to fear God. And I think those actually go hand in hand. But I think that idea of work, it goes right to human purpose. I think it goes right to the amount of significance. And this is why you see people, after they retire, there's like a stat out that within a couple years, there's a lot of people who just die. Yep. They literally lose their purpose because they stop working. And here's the other thing is work is not a curse. Like we think that like, oh man, part of the curse was, you have to work by the sweat of your brow. You're going to work this field. In the garden, before the fall happened, they had jobs. They had things that they were doing. It wasn't just like them sitting on a beach drinking a Corona, like that wasn't like that's not like our idea of vacation was not what paradise was. They had to name the animals, There were certain things that God required of them every day. The curse actually brought about pain next to work, and that's the difference here, is that work became hard, and the crazy thing about that is that hard work became fulfilling. And so we kind of live in this beautiful irony of life where the thing that gives us the most significance and the thing that gives us the most purpose is really, really hard. But when we engage in that really, really hard thing like work, we gain more significance and more happiness. And we all know this because vacation is usually kind of a neutral thing. If things are going really well at work and I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and when I go on vacation, it makes that vacation better. But vacations that come when things aren't going so well at work, where I've got some worry around work, it makes that vacation not as great and not as meaningful and not as significant. And so I think that answer of what is the baseline human emotion, I think that it is work. And I think that the best we can do this side of eternity, this side of perfection, this side of heaven, is to be happy with our toil. And that's one of the things that I love about what I get to do with my life is there is really, really hard and busy days. Yeah. I'm right in the middle of one. We had to record this podcast. It is now almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
And you're not like, we're not happy. We're not sitting here like, bouncing like, this is the greatest moment of our life. There's fun moments, but we're content and we're having joy doing it, right?
Yeah. And I think that I like that word joy because joy goes to contentment. And again, some of this stuff is just words because words tend to mean different things to different people. And some people are like, happiness is joy. Joy and happiness, they're synonyms. Yeah. But I agree with that. And I think that an intellectual understanding of joy and versus happiness is a really good place to start when trying to answer those questions. And it's a really practical answer too, because if you just see people who love what they get to do with their life, happiness is a fruit of their life. Like they are just happy. No matter how hard they have to work, no matter how hard their job is, they are happy because what they're doing is fulfilling purpose and significant. And the fruit of that is they're happy. And you know what? In my life right now, we had to film this late because, man, Christmas time and all the youth pastors that are listening to this show, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Christmas time at churches is a crazy, crazy time. It's second ranking only to Camp Week. And so there's just a lot of different things that happen. And it's hard. It is hard work. But, man, when you see things that you're doing come off right, it goes to the idea of significance. And it's like, man, there's no place I'd rather be. And I think, and this is a whole nother conversation, and maybe I'll just leave it here, but I think that hard work inside of what God made you to be, inside of God's purpose for you, is actually worship. Now, I think that when we look inside ourselves and say, God, you made me this way, and I'm responding to you by working out my life in this way, it actually becomes a great, not just a single act of worship, your life becomes worship unto God because you are fulfilling what God made you to be, and you're finding the significance and the purpose that He gave you.
Ted Francis McConaughey, the second. Last segment of the week, TJ. And you get the benefit of this segment every week because you actually film and we record this podcast in your office. And I sit in my pod box in my garage and record this episode. So I always have to remember to bring something, but I sometimes forget. So I'll go first. Or do you want to go first? I don't really care. Do you have something picked out? You ready to go?
You go first. I have something picked out, but I want to hear yours.
Mine's going to be pretty boring. So this last segment we do, it's called What's in Your Office. We like to point out, what's in your office because youth pastors usually have eclectic offices, and anywhere you go, anytime you step in a youth pastor's office, there's always random things there, and they're kind of fun, and most of them always have meaning. So today, TJ, my thing in my office is me. But here's why. I'll make it educational.
Oh my god!
Really, it's because I forgot to bring something from my main office.
Yeah,
to my
we all
office.
know that. Every
But-
listener who's got a brain heard that, except for maybe some of those guys on the youth pastor forums who are like,
easy,
"Well, what does he got to
easy,
say?"
easy.
No.
He's probably not raising his hands either. My thing in my office is me, and here's why. Always remember, you are the most important thing in your office. You are the most important thing in your ministry. You are the most important thing to your kid's life. And I'll give you some backing on that, so you don't think I'm just full of crap. There's a big study called the ACEs study. It stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. It was sponsored and put on by doctors from Kaiser Permanente who started seeing patients for obesity. And they started seeing that a lot of these patients for obesity had these very similar childhood experiences. Were your parents divorced? Did a parent ever go to jail? Did a parent ever curse or hit you or make you feel unloved? Did you ever watch your mom get abused? Did your parents have an alcohol or drug problem? A whole plethora or 10 of these adverse childhood experiences. And the more you had, the more significant or the more risk it puts you for these diseases or problems later in life. And if anybody are interested, you can just go on Google, type in ACEs, and check it out. And it's really actually pretty profound. You can go on there and look at all the research and all the scientific data that's out there that points to, I think if you have 4 or more, your risk of cancer goes up, your risk of being in jail as an adult goes up, and it just points to that childhood trauma that you experience that induces stress later on, and yada, yada, yada. I say all that to say this. Science also says, and research also says, that the number one thing that helps mitigate the damage of the ACEs is what, TJ?
Relationship.
One caring adult. And this is like, you can read it on the website, on all the forums that talks about it. One caring adult can mitigate and almost eliminate the effects of adverse childhood experiences. So again,
Wow.
You are the most important thing in your office. We get sometimes all worked up about making our entire program presentation be cool and attractive to a kid, and that is meaningful. You have to attract them, but you are the most attractive. Even you, TJ, are the most attractive thing to your ministry. Always, 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 always.
Yeah.
So yes, we can have cool things, but never forget, it's not what's in your office, it's who is in your office. One caring adult can really change a life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good thing to speak to anything, man. And we've talked about this so many times. You're going to hear this so many times on this podcast, is that relationship is one of the best answers to any problem you face. Have you engaged relationally? And I think that if you care about students, you're going to do that. It's going to be your MO. And so I like that answer. I think that, good offices aren't just cool. They're extensions of personality. Yeah. And so, you are the most important thing in your office. Thank you for that very insightful, maybe pretentious answer, Sonny. I'm not going
What did you always used to say about fat guys and ukuleles?
Nothing makes a fat guy look fatter than a ukulele. Oh man. And you know what? It's kind of crazy. Like, I feel like the fatter you are, the more attracted to a ukulele you are. I don't know what that is either. Like there's a I don't know, causation or correlation here, but there is definitely a correlation between fat guys and ukuleles.
That's the thing.
Anyway, well, that is a great segue. And guys who are listening to the show, you might be like, why did they start talking about ukulele? Well, that's because my item in my office is this ukulele, and it really represents what every youth pastor knows, is that there's always a kid in your youth group picking on some sort of bass or guitar or ukulele. Sometimes I've even had kids like have banjos, just, hey, I'm learning the banjo. I'm like, well, why? It's like, well, I think it would really go well with my punk rock band. And I'm like, easy. We always have that kid who's picking the guitar in the corner. And it's always super annoying, and we all know it. Like when the guy just starts and he's got like one chord down, and he just over there, and then sometimes he learns like a strumming pattern, but it's always kind of choppy.
And he has like 4 girls sitting around him going, "Oh, he's so creative and artistic."
Yeah, it also is just totally a Mac.
Check magnet, bro. Check magnet
for certain things, but it is annoying, especially if you do play instruments, is hearing that kid just sort of pick something out, and he learns like one song, and then all of a sudden he's going to play that same song for the next 6 months, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, man, I'm so tired of hearing that song. But he gets better, or he stops playing and we're all like, praise Jesus, but he gets better, or she gets better. And it's really cool because somewhere along the lines, you stop being annoyed by that kid picking the guitar in the corner, and playing the same song, because they get better. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's this moment, usually in some sort of youth service, where you look over and you say, oh my gosh, this kid could play on stage. Mm-hmm. This kid could be part of our worship band. This kid could have this be something that's meaningful and real to him, and I can use this. But in order to get to that place, they have to be willing to work on their skill.
And they got to believe. They got to believe they belong on the stage.
And that's really why I got a ukulele, I got a bass in here, I got a guitar in here, and all over our youth center we have just guitars and different instruments kids can pick up and play, and sometimes that means chaos and just an incredibly annoying sound, but kids get better, and that in and of itself is essential youth ministry. Is that the kids who come into your ministry and are annoying at first, if they stick around, they're going to become center to what you're doing there. And they're going to be kids that if they're not there a night, you miss them, mm-hmm. and your program misses them. And they're going to be people who not just only come, but they become the people who are putting on your program eventually. And so to all the youth pastors and youth workers out there who have that kid who is annoying in your youth group, look at your ukulele or look at your guitar and remember, we all start somewhere. And somebody somewhere loved you when you were not very lovely. And God bless them, because now you're doing youth work. And so go run after those fringe kids. Go head after them, because like a ukulele, they can start off as really annoying and turn into something incredibly beautiful that blesses a lot of different people. I want to let you guys know that please engage with us on Facebook and on Instagram. We really, really love it when you guys get on there and you say what you enjoyed about the podcast and you join the conversation. This conversation between Sonny and I, we don't want it to just be between us. We want to hear you throughout the week. What's going on in your ministry, what part of the show means a lot to you. And the more feedback that we get, the more we know exactly what to talk about on these shows. So please engage us. Tell us who's won the week this week. Let us know, if there's a certain thing that Sonny or I hit on this week that you'd like to hear more about on the shows, please leave that in a comment, and we'll put that into future episodes. I know I got a couple people who messaged me this week saying, hey, Sonny said something along the lines of this, and I would like to hear more about that. So if you got that, basically, that's a long way to say interact with us online so we know that you're out there. And
but not in a negative way, so it ruins our day.
Yeah, not in a negative way. Yeah, don't troll.
Leave the educational trolling to us. We got it covered.
Yeah, anyway, Sonny, it's been real. It's been fun. This is the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast. I'm TJ McConaughey, my co-host, Sonny Saltalamakia. Good night.
You've earned your gold star. Thank you for listening to the Fringe Youth Worker